All right, we are here today with Jessica Goodwin Moss, Student Intervention and Community Engagement Coordinator at South Elementary, and Deputy Hunter Moss, who is the School Resource Officer for elementary schools in Person County. So we want to discuss with you two today how your roles intersect with community engagement and how you all are building pipelines for the community to be able to interact with our youth. So we're going to start off with your backstories.
Okay.
Tell us about you all's upbringing here in Person County.
I was raised in Timberlake with my parents and two younger brothers. We both went to school at Helena Elementary, then transitioned to Southern, ended up at Person. We're both part of the class of 2013. I grew up playing softball and volleyball, continued playing volleyball competitively into high school and college, and ended up at Meredith College.
Yeah, well, she spoke for me.
Sorry.
Went to Helena Elementary, Southern, and Person. Played sports at Person, was in the band at Person, and ended up going to the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. So
why don't you all tell us about your goals getting into college and how those goals evolved over time?
So I went to Meredith College and I majored in child development. At Meredith, you don't major in a specific education area, so you have to pick a field and then you get your teaching license on top of that degree. So I got my Bachelor of Science in Child Development with a teaching license in birth through kindergarten, as well as kindergarten through 6th grade. And I also have a license for EC for kindergarten through 12th graders.
well, mine wasn't as streamlined. It took me a couple years. So I went to Greensboro with aspirations of being a middle school social studies teacher. So just a regular education degree. Took a couple classes and kind of switched it up. With my music background, I figured I'd be a music director. So music education degree. And then took a couple of those and took one sociology course and really, really enjoyed the curriculum. So changed my whole major. Ended up changing my major to sociology and finishing out my college career with that.
Okay. Well, tell us what brought you to the Sheriff Department, Person County Sheriff Department.
So that was also not as streamlined. While I was in college, I worked a couple jobs. When I graduated, it's sometimes hard to get jobs, even obviously in your career field. And I was kind of back and forth about what I wanted to do with a sociology degree. You can do a couple of things: counseling, social work, which both of those require master's programs. So I wanted to kind of go ahead and get working. So I knew, even though I'd changed my career multiple times, or my college degrees multiple times, I knew I wanted to stick with working with students and youth. So I looked at juvenile justice, probation, parole, some things that I could work in, some specialty roles, like youth leaders at certain like juvenile centers and stuff like that. And it was just really hard to find a job or anyone to give me a call back, even with a degree. And one day I walked into the sheriff's office and asked for information about working in law enforcement, because I knew at a sheriff's office you can work at schools as a school resource officer. And lo and behold, a week later I had a job.
So your desire was always to work with youth in some way. You just took sort of a
The scenic route.
Yeah, the path less taken.
All right. Well, Jess, how about you? Teaching here at South Elementary. Tell us about, what brought you here and what's kept you here.
So when I finished my degree at Meredith, I graduated on a Saturday, and immediately the next Monday, I was teaching in a long-term subbing position at Northern Middle School. So before I went to college, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. There were people that tried to sway that, with talk of the salary and the long hours and things like that. But I always knew that was what I wanted to do. I felt like it was my purpose. So I went to school, kept the same major the whole time I was there. And when I finished up my degree, I felt drawn to South. I wanted to be at South. And I knew Mr. Holmes. He was my teacher in high school and my Key Club advisor in high school. So we had worked together in that capacity. So I reached out and said, hey, are you going to have any openings? And he did. And he was very welcoming. I came and toured. I loved the culture of the school, the feel that I got when I was here. And I actually only interviewed at South. And luckily got the job and got the position. But I knew I wanted to be here. And I've never left. I've always felt like South was where I wanted to be and where I belonged. And I've kind of made a home here, I guess. I taught second grade my first year. I taught fourth grade for 3 years, and then this position became available over the summer. And Mr. Holmes approached me, and we talked, and I felt like it was a good move for me. I've always been very passionate about students who learn differently, whether that's academically, social, emotionally, behaviorally. So this role was a good fit for me. And then being from this community and having contacts in the community, that community engagement piece kind of fit really well for me too. So it's been great. I've loved South.
Okay, wonderful. So tell us about you all's work, the work you're doing with the youth and with the community, how you all's work causes you and allows you to engage with the community.
So my job really, I wear a few hats at South, but one big part of my job is community engagement. And with the way that the pandemic played out, South, itself, we had community members in the building almost every day. Folks from local churches, businesses, volunteers coming in to read with our kids and tutor and mentor. So then when COVID hit, it was like, nope, nobody can come in the building for 2 years. So we're really trying to build that base back up. We're starting the Reading Buddies program again. I posted a link on my Facebook to sign up. And through that program, we are partnered with Roots and Wings of Person County, and they are working with us to improve just literacy across the county. So they're working with us with our first through third graders. Teachers can, nominate students to participate in this program, but it takes a lot of community volunteers to make it happen. So with that program, a volunteer comes in and reads with the same student for an hour each week for the whole school year. So not only is it reading, but they're also really building a strong bond. And it's a mentoring opportunity as well. So I'm really excited to get that back going. Something else that we've worked on, there are so many needs within a school, not just monetarily and with donations, but with volunteers, just to make things run a little smoother. And our teachers need support in the classrooms and things like that. So one of the things that I'm working on is building that base back up of community partners. So businesses, churches, community organizations and groups, individuals. We're just looking for people to sign up that want to give back to the community, whether that's through donating their time by volunteering or donating materials to classrooms or monetary donations. Our teachers are constantly doing projects through Donors Choose, and they have Amazon lists, and they have needs within their classrooms that we have lots of opportunities for people to give back. It's not just you have to come into the school during the school day. So I'm trying to let people know that there are those community opportunities here, and it's a really great way to get involved with our students here. We have started the Global Learning Program here at South with the dual language program. And I think that there are a lot of community members that would be amazed at not only what our students are doing in those dual language classrooms, but in all the classrooms across the building. Our students are, I would argue, the best. You can take that out if you need to. But we have really awesome kids. And I know that every person at every school feels that way about the students in their building. But I want to get the community inside the building so they can see the awesome things that our students and teachers are doing. So with community engagement, the other part of my job, or one of the other parts of my job, is with student intervention. So I work with teachers and students on making sure that we're closing learning gaps, whether that's academic gaps or social emotional gaps, behavior gaps, and making sure that we're teaching those skills for them to be successful. But it's not always as simple as like, oh, they need this intervention for reading. We have, especially, the pandemic heightened this, but students with social emotional needs that were unmet for that long. So that's been a big focus, and I've been working closely with our guidance counselor, Dr. Boyd, and our school social worker, as well as our principals, and we all kind of are working together to identify needs with individual kids, as well as, what can we do on a school level to strengthen those skills across our student body.
So I am the elementary SRO, the school resource officer for the Percy County Sheriff's Office. My domain over the elementary schools is pretty much all of them. Like, I have all 7 elementary schools. I'm also a resource for Earl Bradshaw preschool, but I mean, I don't wear as many hats as her. It's almost kind of straightforward. A lot of people think that my job is literally just to be the law enforcement officer at a school, but it's so much more, especially at this level. And I love this job. But so typically there's like three job titles you have as an SRO. You have the law enforcement officer, so I'm in charge of security, making sure that the school and the students and teachers and staff are safe and the grounds are safe. I also help out with any emergencies going on or whatever it may be. And then the other 2 are pretty much, I'm not a teacher per se in their sense, but it's being a teacher and a mentor. And those are my favorite aspects of the job. A lot of people don't really know that we do that, but it is a huge part of our job. And we don't get into the classrooms as much, obviously, as before COVID, but we're working on that. We also we do great camp and, great and dare and all that stuff too, but there's so much more, especially since I've been SRO. I've taught internet safety courses, just awareness. We try our best to get a lot of awareness courses out there. We're working on some things right now, but so teaching, and obviously we want to get certain education out there. They're doing their best here in these schools, and we want to try our best to hit on some topics that a lot of kids, a lot of students and parents and community members need big time. As far as education goes and awareness. But my favorite job at the schools is mentor. And I feel like that's what I mainly do all day long. And that's, like I said, it's my favorite thing to do. As a mentor, It's a tough job because obviously being a law enforcement officer, it comes with a barrier, especially the past couple of years with everything that's been going on. So I think the first year of my job, because I've been SRO for about 2 years, the first year of my job was just breaking down some really big barriers with these kids. I know there was one school that I went to, and a couple kids would literally just cry, and they would be afraid of my presence. So that was task number one, breaking down all these barriers. Just, try to humanize on both levels. We try to get officers and deputies to come in and mingle with the kids and vice versa, and we just try to build that relationship, because at the end of the day, there will always be community, and then there will be a community's law enforcement. So, and that's a really important part, because it'll always be around. I think it's important to have a strong connection between community members and law enforcement. So that's one of my biggest goals, because obviously right now, these kids from preschool to 5th grade and on up, it's just a very developmental age. So if I can build those really good, strong relationships now, then, obviously it'll click, I guess. Hopefully it'll click. And I'm only in year 2, but I can't wait to be in year 10 or down the line and be like, hey, there's Deputy Moss. Hey, I really enjoyed our relationship, etc. But my job is fun. I know there's hard parts to my job and there's dangerous things to my job, but I joke with the teachers around here, I get to create chaos in schools. Like, I carry around stickers. I've got snacks and all this certain stuff, like
secret handshakes.
Yeah, secret handshakes. Like, it's a blast, because as far as the kids go, like I said, I'm trying to break down those barriers. So my number one goal is to not come off as, because obviously, the uniform can be an intimidating thing. So I have to come with an animated, smile and personality, and I've got to be like very fun, and I get to be fun all day long, especially with the little ones. So like I said, I'll just have stickers and candy and all this certain stuff, and we just have a ball. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I get classes in trouble because I just walk by, or like they'll yell at me through the hallways, or I'll wave through the little bitty glass door or door glass, and they're just like, shh, level 0 or whatever they say. But I love this job. It's so fun, especially with the young ones, because you can really create change in youth, especially at this age, because it's such a developmental age for growth. And that's why I think we both had this yearning to want to impact our communities. And that's,
I want them to think like, oh, Deputy Moss and Miss Moss, those were like my advocates. Those were my people. Like, that's my goal.
Yeah, and that's pretty much my job. Because like I said, we teach and stuff like that, and we'll try to make learning moments out of a lot of the stuff, but I don't deal with any discipline with kids, because I'm trying not to create that barrier, because if a child's acting up or makes a wrong choice or makes a mistake or, bad choices, and he ends up in trouble, and then his first consequence is to talk to the police officer at the school, it just kind of creates a rift, especially because there are certain things where I'm not needed. So if anything, I just talk to the kids that are in trouble, and like we'll talk about like what we can do next. Like, how can we grow from this? And it's always a positive interaction that I try to have, because people are always going to respond better to positive feedback. You know what I mean?
Right. And we always, as a school, and I know he does as well, try to phrase things in a way that like, you just made a poor choice. And now we're dealing with the consequences of that choice. Not that they are bad or that, and I know that he's had this conversation, going into classes. A lot of the little ones are like, you catch bad guys. No, it's not bad guys necessarily. It's people who have made a poor choice and they're dealing with the consequences of their actions. And I think that's something that he's been really rephrasing. And hopefully it's.
Yeah, hopefully we change some of the thought process. Yeah. Because that's obviously when I walk into a room, especially with the young ones, it's like, hey, can I see your taser? And you just, like, your job's to arrest bad guys. But like she said, if I focus on just that kind of just duality of good and bad, then some of these kids who early on make bad decisions and make bad choices are going to try to label themselves as bad kids. And that's what we don't want. Yeah. We want to kind of restore that kind of restorative process where we can work on growing from mistakes and stuff like that. And that's what I kind of mean that's what she does when she intervenes with kids. Yeah. And when I mentor or just talk and build relationships with these kids, we're trying to get them to change that thought process. Right. That no matter what they do, we'll still love them. Mm-hmm. And I heard that recently. It was, and I've used it a couple of times already, but we respect the kids for who they are, not what they do. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they can learn that no matter what decisions they make in life, there's always a choice. There's always a way to grow from that and to learn from those mistakes. Mm-hmm. So,
and it might be a harder way to make it right, but we always try to take that restorative approach of like, you can make this better. And I want them to know that if they're ever in that situation, like, we're in their corner. We're going to be there for those, if it does become hard for them to make the right choice, like, we're going to be there for them.
Yeah.
All right. So you both have some future goals in mind that you want to do as far as your individual abilities to impact the community and grow in your fields. So tell us what steps you're making to meet some of those future goals.
I actually just got accepted and enrolled at UNCG to get my master's in school administration. So I have aspirations of one day becoming a principal. And I hope to, lead a school in the same way that we're kind of trying to impact things here with those restorative practices and just kind of leading with love, So, and I'm really excited because the program that I'm enrolled to focuses specifically on diversity and equity in rural schools. So I'm really excited about that.
I'm also in a master's program for school counseling. I don't know the timeline, but I do know that I think that was, as I kind of talked about before, that was a goal of mine. And I just feel like just my experience here, that's just one way that I can really, really best impact a lot of these students in that counselor role, because I work with our social workers, our admin, our school admin, and our guidance counselors, our school counselors. And I just really admire what they do and the one-on-ones they can have and just the effect that they can bring in some of these students. So that's
the
just
change that can be sparked there.
Yeah, big time. Because at the end of the day, there's always going to be certain aspects to my current job that can prevent me from building those relationships inevitably with all students. But in a different role, such as a school counselor, I think that I can build those relationships a lot more efficiently and maybe, hopefully, create change better. But like I said, don't know. That's just a long-term goal of mine, so we're working on it now.
All right. Well, we'll end it the way we always end our interviews. Tell us about what your hopes are for the future of Person County.
You first? Yeah, I'll go first. My goals for Person County, I think, have been the same. I know I've changed careers and my majors all the time, but the end goal was always the same.
The vision's always
I love my community, and And I feel like one of our biggest problems in Person County is that a lot of people, with every graduating class, at least this is how it was when we graduated high school, a lot of people don't no longer invest in Person County. And people move away, invest in other communities and stuff like that. But I mean, this is where I was, born and raised. And if we don't invest in Person County and focus on everything that we talked about and working towards helping this newer generation and working on building that generation and helping influence them, then we're going to see the same problems. So my goal, to shorten it, my goal is just that I can create a change in some of these young minds, so when I'm old and gray, they're doing the same thing for kids in this same age group. So
I think my hope for Person County obviously is the same, but I really would love to see just stronger bonds between the people here. Like Hunter was saying, people graduate and leave, and which is totally fine. But I think investing in our community and really creating those bonds and knowing that we're all working towards that common goal of making ourselves and our community better. That's what I would love to see in Person County.
Yeah.